So a little backstory. We used to be neighbors. They lived next door to us, and his kids were friends with my child. The kids used to come over all the time, and my son had gone over there. He had some things go on in his life, so he was moving, and he started to show some weird behavior. He kind of zoned in on the kid down the street, saying that the kid down the street was living in his attic, digging tunnels under his house. He also said that I hacked into his bank accounts and stole his account information and bought thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And so one day I saw him outside and about our children and what was going on with them. And he kind of ignored what I had to say, kind of just brushed that off, and started to tell me about the kid down the street and how he hacked his accounts and the whole Bitcoin thing. And so, and then he mentioned that the kid stole his pew pew. And so I told him he needed to call the police, and he kind of just was like, well, I don't know for sure, that I can't prove that it was him. And I said, it doesn't matter if you can prove it, you need to call the police. Like, if something happens with that, you're responsible. You need to call the police. Well, he just kind of brushed it off, went about his day. He had mentioned one day when he saw me outside that I'm an esthetician, so I do spray tanning as well as one of my services. And so he had asked me if I did spray tan, and I said yes. And he was asking about him getting a spray tan. I didn't necessarily feel comfortable with that, so I just said, I'm out of solution right now, you know, I have to order this. So then he messaged me a text and then through Facebook about the solution at different times, and I kind of just ignored. I think one time I may have written back on Facebook saying I still needed to order it, but when he had texted me, I ignored every text I ever received from him. So and then one night he came over in the middle of the night and was banging on our door, and my son and I were sleeping, and my husband answers the door, and he was wanting to check on me because he thought he heard a woman screaming, and he thought it was me, and said he was trying to make his way into our home, saying, well, if everything's fine, then let me just see for myself. Well, my husband didn't let him in the house. He didn't feel comfortable because he didn't think that this person was in their right mind. So then a couple weeks go by, we don't hear anything about anything. And then that's when the outside conversation about our kids happened with the Bitcoin and all that. Well, then a couple nights later, so on June 1st at almost 2 o'clock in the morning, the police show up. They say that they want to check on me and make sure that I'm okay. So my husband wakes me up and tells me that the police are here to check on me. So I go out to the front room. The police then say they want to check on my son. So I had to walk the police to the back room, to my bedroom where my son was sleeping, and show them that he was okay. The next morning, around 10 o'clock, security footage shows that Kevin tried to open my front door. He opened the screen door and went to go open the front door. It was locked. Then my husband sees that he was at the door, so my husband goes and answers it. My husband's half asleep. Kevin's like, oh, you were sleeping? And my husband's like, yeah. And he's like, were you on my roof? And my husband's like, no, like, I was asleep and it's raining. And Kevin's like, oh, okay, and just leaves. That same day, Kevin then comes outside and tries to confront my husband on the fact that my husband's beating me. And then he goes and tells my dad that my husband's beating me. And my dad comes over to check on me, and I'm like, he's at it again. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't understand why he thinks this. And so my dad leaves because my dad knows that this is not happening. And so then, like 2 to 5 minutes after my dad leaves, he sends his children over here to see if to get my son to go over there. And the kids specifically say, my dad sent us to get Cameron to come over to our house. So of course I said, no, not today. It's not the kid's fault, but I wasn't going to allow my son to go over there. Same weekend, he called the police again during the day, and the police said, we just wanted to let you know what was going on. He apparently was telling the neighborhood and the police that my husband was digging tunnels under his house. My mother-in-law was living in our backyard and tried to climb onto his roof and broke a window. Something about his attic again, and then supposedly held a pew-pew to his head while he was trying to read a book. So then we're like, I don't know what's going on. You know, we tell the police and they say, we totally understand. We've gotten calls about this specific person in this house before. They're told to stand on the yard and call him out because he's a big guy. And they maybe not so mentally stable. So then they leave. They just wanted to let us know. So then a week later, not even a week, it was a couple of days later. So then I start looking at my security footage, and I see so much more. I wish I would have been looking at my security camera way before any of this even happened, because I would have been a lot more careful.